India-Bangladesh border in West Bengal, the BSF is now reporting a massive spike in illegal infiltrators trying to return to Bangladesh now. Sources to News9 have confirmed that at least 1,720 people have been pushed back in just last 1 week, and this is from Hakimpur border outpost alone. For days now, the Hakimpur post in North 24 Parganas, about 80 kilometers from Kolkata, has been witnessing an unusual scene. Hundreds of men, women and children have been gathering with their belongings, waiting to cross back into Bangladesh. Many of them admitted to the BSF, in fact, that they had infiltrated into India over the past decade, often with the help of agents and without any valid documents. They had settled in different suburban pockets around Kolkata, often working as either rag pickers, domestic workers or rickshaw pullers. But right after the SIR process began, entire ghettos are now suddenly getting abandoned. People have locked in their homes and moved straight to the border, saying that they had no documents and were returning on their own choice to Bangladesh now. So how is this process exactly panning out? Well, once they reach the border post, the BSF verifies their details, prepares a list with their demographic information, and then shares this with the Bangladesh border guard officials. And then after the BGB confirms their identities, the infiltrators are taken to the no man's land along the Sinai River. It is an unfenced stretch of the border. From there, they are then formally handed over to the Bangladesh border guard. At this point, BSF officials say that the numbers could rise further as more infiltrators leave their settlements and head towards the border.
আমরা অনেক দিন এসেছি।
কতদিন?
20 বছর।
20 বছর ভারতে? তাহলে তো আপনার ভোটার কার্ড আধার কার্ড আছে।
আমাদের কিছু নেই।
লক্ষ্মীর ভান্ডার?
কিছু নেই আমাদের।
কেন দেয়নি?
আমাদের ডকুমেন্টস না থাকলে কি করে দেবে?
ডকুমেন্টস না থাকলে লক্ষ্মী ভান্ডার আবার কে দেবে?
আপনার জন্ম কোথায়?
আমার জন্ম বাংলাদেশে। আমার চোখের ডাক্তার দেখানোর জন্য এখানে আসা হয়েছিল।
20 বছর ধরে আছেন বলছেন?
হ্যাঁ।
20 বছর ধরে আপনার ছেলে রয়েছেন চোখের ডাক্তার দেখাতে?
আমরা এসেছিলাম, ডাক্তার দেখাইছি, এই ডাক্তার ওই ডাক্তার পাল্টাপাল্টি করে
বয়তে 20 বছর লেগে গেছে। তো 20 বছর তো নিশ্চয়ই অনেকবার বাংলাদেশ গেছে।
আমরা যাইনি।
কেন? আত্মীয় স্বজন আছে তো?
আছে, একবার গেছিলাম, চলে এসেছিলাম।
কি করে গেলেন, কি করে আসলে?
ওইটা আমি গেছি, এসে আর বলতে পারছি।
দালাল ধরে বর্ডার পার করে
বাংলাদেশ যাওয়ার জন্য এসেছি।
কেন?
শুনছি মানে দেশে এরকম হবে, সবাই চলে যাচ্ছে, বাংলাদেশের লোক কোনো থাকছে না।
আবার কি দালাল ধরবেন আসার সময়?
না, আর ধরবো না।
কেন?
আমার ভুল হয়ে গেছে।
ওই সবে করিলাম।
ব্যাংকের অ্যাকাউন্ট করেছিলেন?
ছিল।
লক্ষ্মীর ভান্ডারে কত টাকা পেতেন?
500 টাকা পেতাম প্রথম, তারপরে এই কয়েকদিন 1000 টাকা দিল।
আচ্ছা, ভোট দিয়েছিলেন?
ভোট 2 বার দিলাম।
আচ্ছা,
এই সুইপারে কাজ করতাম বিল্ডিংয়ে। এখন আমাদের তো রাখছে না এই দেশে।
কিসের ভয় রাখছে না?
কাগজ নেই। এসআইআরে তো কাগজ লাগবে, নথিপত্র, সেগুলো তো আমাদের কাছে নেই।
না, কিচ্ছু আমাদের দিত না। আমরা বাইরের লোক বলে আমাকে কোনো কার্ডই নেই, কিচ্ছু করি না আমাদের।
আপনার ভোটার কার্ড, আধার কার্ড
কিচ্ছু নেই।
আচ্ছা, এখানে কিভাবে এসেছিলেন?
এমনি চলে এলাম।
Now, another death by suicide of a booth-level officer reported in the state of West Bengal. Now here, Rinku Tarafdar, a para teacher who was recently assigned the responsibility of a BLO, died by suicide in her home in Krishnanagar in Nadia district earlier. Now, her suicide note recovered by police reads, in fact, if I cannot complete the work of BLO, administrative pressure will come. It is not possible for me to take it. Now, blaming the Election Commission, the family of the deceased here claims that she was under severe mental pressure from the beginning of her assignment, as she lacked adequate computer skills which are needed for the SIR process. Now, this has further intensified the debate over the ongoing special intensive revision of voter lists in the state, as this is not the first case of suicide that has come to light. In fact, several such incidents have been reported. And now, with this one, the debate has intensified, it seems. And now, after Bihar, the process of SIR has started in other states, including Uttar Pradesh. However, like TMC in West Bengal, the Samajwadi Party in Uttar Pradesh is too now opposing the move. Samajwadi Party has now written a letter to the Election Commission saying that the party's national president Akhilesh Yadav has demanded extension of the ongoing special intensive revision of electoral rolls in the state by 3 months. The letter here reads that in Ghosi Lok Sabha constituency and in various assembly constituencies of Mau district, it should be ensured that BLOs go door to door and distribute and collect counting forms from the voters. Further, the letter mentions that counting forms are not being delivered to all voters, due to which some voters are not getting enough time to fill and submit their forms. Therefore, the time for the SI process should be extended by 3 months so that the counting of all the forms can be done and voter can submit and fill their form in time. So this is the demand that has now come in from the opposition in the state of Uttar Pradesh regarding the SIR exercise. And now shifting focus, actor turned politician Vijay will now hold an outreach program at Kanchipuram district and has also planned an indoor meeting at a private college. The first meeting, which shall begin at around 11 am at JPR Tech Institute, will see a new format of indoor public meetings across Tamil Nadu. The party says each district level event will in fact host around 2,000 people, which will ensure a controlled and a safer environment, because this comes in the aftermath of the Karur stampede. Remember, it took place on September 27th and at least 41 people lost their lives in the accident. Now, TVK here says that indoor event will accommodate nearly 2,000 participants, a deliberate move to maintain controlled conditions. So, viewers, with assembly elections just months away, the TVK is now speeding up Vijay's engagement with the public to regain their campaign momentum. Meanwhile, Vijay is also expected to address the TVK's volunteers wing. This is where members are now undergoing crowd management training from retired police personnel. In fact, nearly 100 volunteers are getting trained daily, with the district level camps to follow soon. The party hopes that these trained teams will help streamline and secure future public interactions. And now, US officials and lawmakers are increasingly concerned about a meeting that took place last month, in which the representatives of the Trump administration met with Kirill Dmitriev, a Russian envoy who is under US sanctions, to draft a plan to end the war in Ukraine. Now, this meeting reportedly took place in Miami at the end of the October and included Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, President Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, as well as Dmitriev, who leads the Russian Direct Investment Fund, one of Russia's largest sovereign wealth funds. Now, a close ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin, Dmitriev has taken a leading role in these talks with the US about the war and in fact has met with Witkoff several times this year. The Trump administration has now issued a special waiver as well to allow his entry, according to one senior US official. Now, remember, Dmitriev and his fund were in fact blacklisted by the US government back in 2022 following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Now, the sanctions effectively bar American citizens and companies from dealing with them. And we are given to understand that this meeting that took place in Miami is what resulted in the 28-point plan for ending the war. Now, the plan, which was made public earlier, came as a surprise to some of the even US officials in various corners of the administration and has now stirred confusion at the embassies throughout Washington as well as in European capitals. It has also prompted criticism from the Ukrainians and their allies for appearing heavily tilted towards Russian interests, with in fact a Ukrainian president now pledging on Friday that he would not betray Ukraine's interests. Now, the document, which calls for major concessions from Ukraine, appears to run counter to the tougher stance we have been witnessing from the Trump administration lately towards Moscow. In fact, at this point, it's unclear whether Dmitriev came to the meeting in Miami with certain Russian demands and whether those were incorporated into the peace plan. But two people who are familiar with the meeting said that Rustem Umerov, who's the Secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, was also in Miami this week to discuss the plan with Witkoff, so which essentially hinting that Ukrainian inputs were also taken into account. Now, one source who is familiar with the situation also said that Witkoff told Umerov about the plan during that visit, and the US, in fact, gave the plan to Ukraine via the Turkish government on Wednesday before directly presenting it to Kyiv on Thursday. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said on Saturday that a 28-point proposal for peace in Ukraine that emerged this week was authored by Washington despite what a handful of senators are now claiming. It is offered as a strong framework for ongoing negotiations, Rubio posted on X, and it is based on input from the Russian side, but it is also based on previous and ongoing input from the Ukrainian side. This is the latest clarification that has come in from the U.S. Secretary of State. Remember, this comes amid some members of the Congress were stating that the Secretary of State Marco Rubio called them to say that Americans did not instigate the current Ukrainian peace proposal. Some of the senators claimed that Rubio described the plan as a Russian proposal and not as a U.S. initiative. Now, in fact, they claim that Rubio told lawmakers that he was unaware of any plans by President Donald Trump to cut off intelligence sharing or military assistance if Ukraine rejects the terms of this proposal. Remember, Senator Mike Rounds, a Republican, told reporters at a conference earlier on Saturday that Rubio had called him and other senators as well, saying that it was a proposal that the U.S. had received and passed on to Ukraine. He made it very clear to us that we are recipients of a proposal that was delivered to one of our representatives, according to Rounds. It is not our recommendation, it is not our plan. This is what Rounds claimed regarding Rubio's statement on the current proposal. Meanwhile, Rubio has now departed en route to Geneva for talks on Ukraine peace plan. This is according to the U.S. State Department. This comes after he issued a clarification that it is in fact a proposal authored by US and inputs from both the sides, Russia as well as Ukraine, have been taken into account.